earnest는요, 영국 19세기 빅토리아 시대를 배경으로 earnest라는 이름과 덤벌이라는 이름을 배경으로 둘러싸고 벌어지는 재미난 소동을 그리고 있습니다. 저희 배우들이 떨거나 실수를 하더라도 너그럽게 이해해주시고 많은 호응과 박수 부탁드립니다. 그리고 마지막으로 즐거운 관람이 되시기 위해서는 핸드폰을 좀 꺼주시거나 진동으로 해주시고요. 많은 호응과 박수 부탁드립니다. 자, 이제 36회 영어연극 정기공연을 시작하겠습니다.
Yes, sir.
By the way, I see from your book that on Thursday night, when Lord Sherman and Mr. Worthing were dining with me, 8 bottles of champagne are entered as being consumed.
Yes, sir. 8 bottles and a pint.
Why is it that at a bachelor's establishment, the servants invariably drink the champagne? I ask you for information.
I attribute to the superior quality of wine, sir. I have often observed in their households, the champagne is merely of a first-rate brand.
Good heavens, is marriage so demoralizing as that?
I believe it is very pleasant, sir. I have had very little experience of it myself up to the present. I have only been married once. That was in consequence of misunderstanding between myself and a young person.
I don't think I'm much interested in your family life today.
No, sir. It is not very interesting subject. I never think of it myself.
Very natural, I'm sure. That it doesn't take away.
Thank you, sir.
Today's views of marriage seem somewhat rash. Really, if the lower urban school schedule certificates approve modernist is the use of them, they seem, as a class, to have absolutely no sense of moral responsibility.
Mr. Earnest Woody.
How are you, my dear Ernest? What brings up to town?
Oh, pleasure, pleasure. What did you bring with you? Anything as usual, I see.
I believe it is very customary in this society to take some like refreshment at 5 o'clock. Where have you been since the last Thursday?
In the country,
What on earth do you do there?
when one is in town, one is in concern. When one is in the country, one is in town. It is exactly both.
Who are the people you have met?
Neighbors. Neighbors.
Got nice neighbors in your part of shows, sir?
Perfectly horrid. Never seen some.
How immensely you must amuse. By the way, Chasuble is your county, is it not?
Sure. Yes, of course. Hello. Why are these cups? Why the cucumber sandwiches? Why such lackly extravagance in Osaya? Please come to me.
Really on top of Augusta and Gwendolen.
How perfectly delightful.
Yes, that is very rare, but I'm afraid Aunt Augusta won part of proof of your being here.
May I ask why?
My dear fellow, the way you flirt with Gwendolen is perfectly disgraceful. It is almost as bad as the way Gwendolen flirts with you.
I am in love with Gwendolen. I have come to town expressly to propose to her.
I thought you had come up for pleasure. I heard the business.
Oh, utterly romantic.
I don't see really anything romantic in proposing. It is very romantic to be in love, but there's nothing romantic about a definite proposal. Why? Or maybe accepted. One usually is, I believe, that the excitement is over. The very essence of romance is uncertainty. If ever I get married, I certainly try to forget the fact.
I have no doubt about that, dear.
There is no use speculating on that subject. Oh, please don't touch the cucumber sandwiches. I ordered specially for Aunt Augusta.
Well, you have eaten them all the time.
That is part different matter. She's my aunt. That's the bread and butter. The bread and butter is for Gwendolen. Gwendolen is devoted to bread and butter.
Very good bread and butter it is too.
Oh, my dear fellow. You need not it as if you are going to eat it all. You behave as if you are married to her lady, but you are not married to her lady, and I don't think you ever will be.
Why on earth do you say that?
Well, in the first place, girls never marry the man they flirt with. Girls don't think it right.
That is nonsense.
It isn't. It is great truth. It accounts for the extraordinary number of bachelors that once this or over the place. In the second place, I don't give my consent.
Your consent?
Yes, you know, Gwendolen is my first cousin, and before I allow you to marry her, you will have to clear up the whole question of Cecily.
Cecily? What on earth do you mean? What do you mean, RG, by Cecily? I don't know any of the name of Cecily.
Bring me the cigarette case Mr. Irving left in the smoke room the last time he dined here.
Yes, sir. Do you mean to say you have my cigarette case all this time? I wish to goodness you had let me know. I've been writing frantic letters to Scotland Yard about it, and that's very near your Raji word.
I wish you know for what I happen to be more than usually hard.
But there is no good offering a Raji word other than things found.
I think that is letter me not be honest. Oh. However, it makes no matter. For now that I look at the inscription inside, I find the thing isn't yours after all.
Of course it is mine. You have seen it 100 times. And you have no right or to read what is written inside. It is very ungentlemanly thing to read a private cigarette case.
It is perfectly absurd to have a vast and hard to learn about what one should read and what one shouldn't. More than half of modern culture depends on what one shouldn't read.
I am tired of the fact, and I don't propose this discuss modern culture. I simply want my cigarette case back.
Yes, but this is not your circus. This cigarette case is a present from someone of the name of Cecily. And you said you didn't know any of them there.
Well, if you want to know, Cecily happens to be my aunt.
Your aunt?
Yes, a charming old lady. She lives at Cambridge. Just give it back to me, Archie.
Yes, but why does she call herself Little Cecily if she's your aunt and lives at Tunbridge Wells? From Little Cecily with her fondest love.
My dear fellow, what on earth is there in that? Someone turned on, someone turned after. That is a matter that surely an aunt may be allowed to decide for herself. And you seem to think that every aunt should be exactly like your aunt. That is absurd. For heaven's sake, give me my cigarette.
Yes, but why does your aunt call you her uncle? From Little Cecily with her fondest love to her dear Uncle Jack. There is no objection, I admit, to an aunt being a small aunt, but why an aunt, no matter what her size may be, should call her own nephew call her dear uncle? I can't quite make out. Besides, your name isn't Jaggalo. It is Ernest.
It isn't Ernest. It's Jack.
You have always told me that it was Ernest. I have introduced you to everyone as Ernest. You answer to the name of Ernest. You look as if your name is Ernest. You are the most honest looking person I ever saw in my life. It is perfectly absurd you're saying that your name isn't Ernest. It's on your card. Here is one of them. Mr. Ernest Worthing People, dear buddy. I keep this as a proof that your name is Ernest. If you attempt to deny to me, or to Gwendolen, or to anyone else.
Well, my name is Ernest in town and Jack in the country. And the cigarette case was given to me in the country.
Yes, but that does not account for the fact that your small aunt Cecily, who lives at Tunbridge Wells, calls you her dear uncle. Come on, boy. You had much better have the thing other does. Now, go on. Tell me the first thing. I may mention that I have always suspected you from a secret, unmarried, and quite sure of it now.
Bunkerist? What on earth do you mean by a bunkerist?
I'll leave it to you the meaning of that incomparable expression. As soon as you're kind enough to inform me why you're honest in town and Jack in the country.
Well, produce my cigarette case first.
Here it is. Produce your explanation and try make it improbable.
My dear fellow, there is nothing improbable about my explanation at all. In fact, it is totally ordinary. Old Mr. Thomas Cardew, who adopted me when I was a little boy, made me in his will guardian to his granddaughter, Miss Cecily Cardew. Cecily, who addresses me as her uncle from the motives of his past that she could not possibly appreciate, lives at my place in the country under the charge of her admirable governess, Miss Prism.
Where is that place in the country, by the way?
That is nothing to you, dear boy. You are not going to be invited. But I may tell you quite candidly that the place is not in Shropshire.
I suspected them, my dear fellow. I have gone buried for over Shropshire, sir, on 2 separate occasions. Now, go on. Why are you honest in town and Jack in the country?
My dear Archie, I don't know whether you'll be able to understand my real motives. You're hardly serious enough. When one is placed in the position of guardian, one has to adopt a very high moral tone on our subject. It is one's duty to do so. And as a high moral tone can hardly be said to conduce very much to either one's health or one's happiness. In order to get up to town, I have always pretended to have a younger brother of the name of Ernest, who lives in here in Merriman, and gets into the most dreadful scrapes. That, my dear Archie, is the whole truth, pure and simple.
The truth is rarely pure and never simple. Modern life would be very tedious if either I left for the literature of complete impossibility.
That wouldn't be at all a bad thing.
Literary criticism is not your forte, my dear fellow. Don't try. You should leave that to people who haven't been at the university. They do swear in daily papers. What you really earn is the bomberries. I'm quite alive to say that you were a bomberries and you're one of the most advanced bomberries I know.
What on earth do you mean?
You have invented a very useful younger brother for earnest in order that you may be able to come up to town as often as you like. I have invented a very invaluable permanent invalid called Bunbury in order that I may be able to go down into the country whenever I choose. Bunbury is perfectly invaluable. If it wasn't for Bunbury extraordinary bad health, I wouldn't be able to dine with you at Willis's tonight, for I have been really engaged to Aunt Augusta for more than a week.
I haven't asked you to dine me anywhere tonight.
I know. You're absolutely careless about sending out the invitations. It is foolish of you. Nothing others prefer so much as not receiving invitations.
You had much better dine with your own nose.
I haven't the smallest intention of doing anything of the kind. In fact, I dined there on Monday. And once a week is quite enough to dine with one's own relations. Besides, now that I know you to be a confirmed Bunbury's, I naturally want to talk to you about Bunbury. I want to tell you the lyrics.
I am not a bumperist at all. If Gwendolen upsets me, I am going to kill my brother. Indeed, I think I will in any case. Cecily is little too much interested in, and it is a rather bore. So, I am going to get rid of Ernest, and I strongly advise you to do the same with Mr. With your invalid friend who has the absurd name.
Nothing will induce me to part with Bunbury. And if you ever get married, which seems to me extremely problematic, you will be glad to know Bunbury. A man who marries without knowing Bunbury has a very tedious time of it.
That is nonsense. If I marry a charming girl like Gwendolen, and she's the only girl I ever saw in my life that I would marry, I certainly want to know Bunbury.
Then you're quite real. You don't seem to realize that in married life, 3 is company and 2 is love.
That, my dear Algie, is a theory that the corrupt French drama has been proposing for the last 50 years.
Yes, and the happy English house proof is a half the time.
For heaven's sake, don't try to be cynical. It is perfectly easy to be cynical.
Oh, my dear fellow. It is not easy to be anything nowadays. There's such a lot of beastly competition about. Oh, that must be Aunt Augusta. Only relatives or creditors ever live in the bargaining manner. Now, if I get her out of the way for 10 minutes, so that you can have an opportunity for proposing to Gwendolen. May I dine with you tonight at Willis's?
I suppose so, if you want to.
Yes, but you must be serious about it. I hate the people who are not serious about meals. It is so shallow down.
Lady Breaknell and Miss Fairfax.
Good afternoon, dear Algernon. I hope you're behaving very well.
I'm feeling very well on those times.
That's not quite the same thing.
dear me, you're smart.
I'm always smart. I'm from the world.
You're quite perfectly scarless.
Oh, I'm not that. It would leave no room for developments. And I intend to develop in many directions. I'm sorry for a little late, Algernon, but as obliged to dear Lady Harbury. I have been there since her poor husband's death. I never saw one so altered. She was quite 20 years younger. And now I have a cup of tea, one of those nice cucumbers and which you should promise me.
Certainly, Augusta.
Won't you come and sit here, Gwendolen? Thanks, Mama. I'm quite comfortable where I am.
Good heavens, Lay! Why is there no cucumbers in this? I ordered them specially.
There were no cucumbers in the breakfast this morning, sir. I went down twice.
No cucumbers!
No, sir. Not even for me.
That is good, thank you, Lay.
Thank you.
I'm greatly distressed, Augusta, about there being no cucumbers, not even for Lady Money.
It really makes me much, Algernon. I have some comfort with Lady Harbury, who seems to me to be living entirely for pleasure now.
I hear her hair has turned quite burnt from grief.
It certainly has changed its color. From a worker's eye, of course, cannot say. Thank you, Algernon. I've heard true for you tonight. I am going to send you down with Mary Farquhar. She's such a nice woman and so attentive to her husband. It's delightful to watch them.
I'm afraid, Augusta, I shall have to give up the pleasure of dining with you tonight after all.
I hope not, Algernon. You will put my table completely out. Your uncle will have to dine upstairs. Fortunately, he's accustomed to that.
It is a great bore, and I need hardly say a terrible disappointment to me. But the fact is that I have just had a telegram to say that my poor friend Longberry is very ill again. They seem to think I should be with him.
It is very strange. This Mr. Bunbury seems to suffer from curious events. Hell.
Yes, my poor friend Longberry is dreaded for invalid.
Well, I must say, Algernon, that I think it is high time that Mr. Bunbury made up his mind whether he was going to live or to die. The shilly-shally with the question is absurd, nor do I in any way approve of the matter simply to give balance. Consider. Illness of any kind is hardly a thing to be encouraged in others. Health is the primary duty of life. I should be much obliged if you would ask Mr. Bunbury from me to be kind enough not to have a relapse on Saturday, though I rely on you to arrange my music to me. It is my last reception, and one wants something that will encourage conversation, particularly at the end of the season when everyone has practically so what place to say, which in most cases is probably not pleasant.
I will speak to Bunbury, Augusta, if he is still malicious, and I think I can promise he will like my Saturday. Of course, the music is a great difficulty. If one plays good music, people don't listen. And if one plays bad music, people don't talk. But I love over the program I've drawn down. If you will kindly come into the next room for a moment.
Thank you, Algernon. It is very thoughtful. I'm sure the program will be delightful after a few expurgation, but French songs I cannot possibly allow. People always seem to think that they're improper and either look sharp, which is vulgar, or laugh, which is worse. The German sounds a thoroughly respectable language. Indeed, I believe so. Gwendolen, you will accompany me. Certainly, Mama.
Charming day to see, Mr. Fitz.
Pray don't talk to me about the weather, Mr. Buddy. whenever people talk to me about the weather, I always look quite certain that they mean something else. And that makes me so nervous.
I do mean something else.
I thought so. In fact, I'm never wrong.
And I'd like to take advantage of Lady Breaknell's temporary absence.
I will certainly advise you to do so. Mama has a way of coming back suddenly into your room that I often have to speak to her about.
These fellas. Ever since I met you, I have admired you more than any girl I have ever met since I met you.
Yes, I'm quite aware of the fact, and I often mention it in public. At any rate, you have been more demonstrative. For me, you have always had a irresistible fascination. Even before I met you, I was far from indifferent to you. My ideal has always been to love someone of the name of Ernest. There is something in that name that is confidence. The moment Algernon first mentioned to me that he had Frank and Ernest, I knew I was destined to love you.
You really love me, Gwendolen.
Passionately.
Darling, you don't know how you make me.
Ernest.
But you don't really mean to say that you couldn't love me if my name was Ernest.
But your name is Ernest.
Yes, I know it is, but supposing it was something else. Do you mean to say you couldn't love me?
That is clearly a metaphysical speculation. And like most metaphysical speculations, has very little reference at all to the actual fact of your life, as you notice.
Personally, darling, to speak quite candidly, I don't much care about the name of Ernest. I don't think the name suits me at all.
It suits you perfectly. It is a divine name. It has music of its own. It produces vibration.
Well, really, Gwendolen, I must say that I think there are a lot of other much nicer names. I think Jack, for instance, a charming name.
Jack? No. There is very little music in the name Jack, if any at all in it. It does not thrill. It produces absolutely no vibrations. And I have known several Jacks. And they all, without exception, were more than usually plain. Besides, Jack is so notorious domesticity for John, and I pity anyone who is married to a man called John. She would probably never be allowed to know the intrinsic pleasure of a single moment's solitude. The only really safe name is Ernest.
Gwendolen, I must get christened at once. I mean, you must get married at once. There is no time to be lost.
Married, Mr. Woody?
Well, sure. You know that I love you, and you let me to believe in this pretext that you're not absolutely indifferent to me.
I adore you, but you haven't proposed to me yet. Nothing has been said at all about marriage. The subject has not even been touched on.
Well, may I propose to you now?
I think it would be an admirable opportunity, and to spare you any possible disappointment, Mr. Woody. I think it would be fair to tell you quite frankly beforehand that I'm fully determined to accept you.
Gwendolen!
Yes, Mr. Woody. What have you got to say to me?
You know what I got to say to you.
Yes, but you don't say it.
Gwendolen, will you marry me?
Of course I will, darling. How long have you been about it? I'm afraid you have had very little experience in how to propose.
Darling, I have never loved anyone in the world but you.
Yes, but men often propose for practice. I know my father Gerald is. All my girlfriends tell me so. What wonderfully blue eyes you have, Ernest. They are quite blue. I hope you always look at me just like that, especially when there are no people present. Mr. Worthing, rise, sir, from this semi-rectangular posture. It is most indecorous. Besides, Mr. Worthing has not quite finished yet. Finished what, may I ask? I'm engaged to Mr. Worthing, Mama. Oh, pardon me, you are not engaged to anyone. If you do become engaged to someone, I, or your father, should have had permission to inform you of the fact. An engagement should come in a young girl's surprise, pleasant or unpleasant, as the case may be. It is hardly a method that she could be allowed to arrange for herself. And now, I have a few questions to put to you, Mr. Worthing. While I'm making this inquiry, you, Gwendolen, will wait for me below in the carriage. Mama! In the Take a silly story.
Thank you, Lady Breaknell. I prefer standing.
I feel bound to tell you that you're not down on the list of eligible young men, although I'm the same list as the Duchess of Fortunate. We work together, in fact. However, I am quite ready to enter your name should your essence be a really affectionate mother requires. Do you smoke?
Well, yes, I must not smoke.
I am glad to hear it. A man should always have an occupation of some kind. Not too many idle men in London, I suppose. How old are you?
29.
A very good age to be married at. I've always been of opinion that a man who desires to get married should know either everything or nothing. Which do you know?
I know nothing, Lady Breaknell.
I see, sweetheart. I do not approve of anything that can prove natural ignorance. Ignorance is like a delicate, exotic fruit, touching and a blooming stone. The whole theory of modern education is ridiculously sound. Fortunately, in England, at any rate, education produces no effect whatsoever. If it did, it would prove a serious danger to the upper classes and probably lead to acts of violence and worse despair. What is your income?
Between 7,000 and 8,000 a year.
In laundry investments?
In investments, chiefly.
That is satisfactory. What between the duties expected of laundering one's side time and the duties exacted for one after one's staff, land has ceased to be either a profit or pleasure. It gives them position and prevents them from keeping it up. That's all that can be said about land.
I have a country house with some land, of course, attached to it, about 1,500 acres, I believe. But I don't depend on it for my daily.
A country house? How many bedrooms? But that's what you consider yours. You have a townhouse at home? A girl with a simple, unspoiled nature like Gwendolen could hardly be expected to reside in the country.
I own a house in Bergam Square, but it is led by the year to Lady Blossom. Of course, I can get it back whenever I like, at 6 months' notice.
Lady Blossom? I don't know her.
Oh, she goes about very little. She is considerably advanced in years.
Nowadays, there is no guarantee of respectability of character. What number is Bergam Square?
129.
Silly special side. I thought there was some. However, it was easily be altered.
Do you mean the fashion or the size?
Well, both, if necessary, I presume. Now to minor matters. Are your parents living?
I have lost both my parents.
To lose one parent, Mr. Worthy, may be regarded as misfortune. To lose both, looks like carelessness. Who has a father who was evidently a man of some wealth? Was he born with the wrinkled papers called the purple of commerce? Or did he rise from the ranks of the aristocracy?
I'm afraid I really don't know. The fact is, Lady Breaknell, I said I have lost my parents, but it would be near the truth to say that my parents have lost me. I don't actually know who I am by birth. I was found.
Found?
The late Mr. Thomas Cardew, an old gentleman of a very charitable and kindly disposition, had found me and gave the name of Waddy, because he happened to have a first-class ticket for Waddy in his pocket at the time. Waddy is a pleasant service. It is a seaside resort.
Where did this charitable gentleman who had a first-class ticket for this seaside resort find you?
In a handbag.
A handbag?
Yes, Lady Breaknell. I was in a handbag. A somewhat large black leather and big handles too. An ordinary handbag.
In what locality did your James Thomas Cardew come across this ordinary handbag?
In a club room at the Victoria Station. It was given to him in return for his own.
A club room at Victoria Station?
Yes, the Brighton line.
The line is immaterial. Mr. Worthy, I confess I'll be somewhat bewildered by what you just told me. To be born or anywhere bred in a handbag, when I can handle some knot, seems to me purpose before now, but it could hardly be regarded as a short basis for a recognized position in the society.
May I ask then, what you would advise me to do? I need hardly say that I would do anything in the world to ensure Gwendolyn's happiness.
I would strongly advise Mr. Worthy to try and acquire some relations as soon as possible and make a definite effort to produce at any rate grandparents of either sex before the season is quite over.
I don't see how I could possibly manage to do that. I can produce handbag in any moment, and it's in my dressing room at home. I really think that should satisfy you, late person.
Me, sir? What has it to do with me? You can hardly imagine that I and Lord Breaknell would dream of allowing our only daughter to go rather with the utmost care to manage our clubroom and formalize with the puzzle. Good morning, Mr. Worthy.
Good morning. For goodness sake, don't bring the custody to urge. How idiotic you are!
Didn't Nick go awful lighter the boy? You don't mean to say Gwendolen refused you? I know it is a way she has. She's always refusing people. I think it is most ill-natured of her.
Gwendolyn is as right as a tree. As far as she's concerned, we are engaged. Our mother is perfectly unbearable. In any case, she is a monster without being a beast. She's the hell. I beg your pardon, Archie. I suppose I shouldn't talk about your own until they're ready for you.
My dear boy, I love hearing my relations with you. It is the only thing that makes me put up with them at all. Relations are simply a tedious pack of people who haven't got the liberties knowledge of how to live nor the smallest instinct about when to die.
That is nonsense.
It isn't.
Well, I won't talk about the matter. You always want to talk about things.
That is exactly what the things were originally made for.
Oh, on my word, if I got that, I would shoot myself. You don't think there is any chance of Gwendolen becoming like her mother in about 150 years, do you?
Or women become like their mother. That is their tragedy. No man does that shit.
Is it clever?
It is perfectly phrased and quite as stressed an observation in civilized life should be. By the way, did you tell Gwendolen the truth about your being honest in town and checking the country?
The truth isn't the sort of thing that nice really fun girl. What extraordinary ideas you have about the way to be a good woman.
The only way to be a happy woman is to make love to her if she is pretty, or to someone else if she's plain.
That is nonsense.
What about your brother? What about the profligate Ernest?
Oh, before the end of the week, I shall not tell you. I say, he died in Paris of epilepsy. Lots of people die of epilepsy quite suddenly, don't they?
Yes, but it's hereditary, yes. It's a sort of thing that runs in families, so you have much better say severe chill.
You're sure that a severe chill is not hereditary or anything of the kind?
Of course it is not.
Very well then. My poor brother Ernest is carried up suddenly in Paris by a severe chill. That is little.
But I thought you said that Miss Cardew was a little too much interest in your poor brother Ernest. Don't you feel his loss of goodwill?
Oh, that is alright. Cecily is not a silly romantic girl, I'm glad to say. She has got a capital appetite. goes long walk, and pays no attention at all to lessons.
Well, I would rather like to see Cecily.
Well, I will take very good care you never do. She is extremely pretty, and only just 18.
Have you told Gwendolen yet that you have an excessively pretty wife who is only just 18?
Oh, one doesn't bring things down to people. Cecily and Gwendolen are constantly certain to be extremely great friends. I bet you anything you like that half an hour after they met, they will call each other sisters.
Women only do that when they have heard each other a lot of things first. Now, if we want to get a good table and realize we really must go and dress. Do you know it is nearly 7?
Well, it is always nearly 7.
I'm hungry.
I never knew when you want.
What should we do after dinner? Go to the theater?
Oh, I love listening.
Well, let us go to the club.
Oh, I hate talking.
Where we might travel down to the Empire Town.
No, I can't bear looking at things. It's so silly.
Where? What shall we do?
Nothing.
It is awfully hard work doing nothing. However, I don't mind hard work where there is no definite object of any kind.
Miss Fairfax.
Gwendolen, open my word!
Algie, kindly turn your back. I have something very particular to say to Mr. Worthing.
My own darling.
Ernest, we may never be married. From the expression on Mama's face, I fear we never shall. Few parents nowadays pay any regard to what their children say to them. The old-fashioned respect for the young is fast dying out. But although she may prevent us from becoming man and wife, and I may marry someone else and marry Austin, nothing that she can possibly do can alter my eternal devotion to you.
Dear Gwendolen.
The story of your romantic origin, as related to me by Mama, not in comments, has naturally stirred the deeper fibers of the history. Your Christian name has an irresistible fascination. The simplicity of her character makes you exquisitely incomprehensible to me. Your town address to Albany I have. What is your address in the country?
The Menas, Burton, Hertfordshire.
The Manor House, Woolton, Hertfordshire. There is a good cost of service, I suppose. It may be necessary to do something this way. That, of course, requires serious consideration. I'll communicate with David.
My own.
How long do you remain in town?
Till Monday.
Good. Algie, you may turn round now.
Yes, I'm trying already.
You may also ring the bell.
You will let me sit your carriage, my darling.
Certainly.
I see Miss Fairfax out.
Yes.
A glass of sherry, Lane.
Yes.
Tomorrow, Lane, I'm going Mulberry.
Yes.
I shall not probably be back tomorrow. And you can put on my dress clothes, smoking jacket, and all the Mulberry suits.
Yes.
I hope tomorrow will be a fine day, Lane.
It never is, sir.
Lane, you're a perfect pessimist.
I do my best to give satisfaction.
There is a sensible intellectual, the only goal I cared for in my life. Oh, the nurse you saw me in there.
I'm already anxious about my girlfriend, Bunbury. That is all.
If you don't take care, your friend Bunbury will get you into serious scrape someday.
I love scrapes. They are only things that are never serious.
That is nonsense! You never took anything but nonsense!
Nobody ever does.
Cecily, surely such a utilitarian occupation as the watering of flowers is rather Bolton's duty than yours, especially at the moment when intellectual pleasures await you. Your German grammar is on the table. Pray open it at page 15. We will repeat yesterday's lesson.
Oh, I don't like German. It isn't at all a becoming language. I know perfectly well that I'm quite plain after my double lesson.
Charles, you know how anxious your guardian is that you should improve yourself in Netherlands. He laid particular stress on your German as he was leaving for town yesterday. Indeed, he always lays stress on your German when he is leaving for town.
The Uncle Jack is so very serious. Sometimes he's so serious that I think it cannot be quite well.
Your guardian enjoys the best of health, and his gravity of demeanor is especially to be commended in one so comparatively young as he is. I know no one who has a higher sense of duty and responsibility.
I suppose that's why he ought to look so little bored when we drive together.
Cecily, I'm surprised at you. Mr. Wadding has many troubles in his life. Idle merriment and triviality would be out of place in his conversation. You must remember his constant anxiety about that unfortunate young man, his brother.
I wish Uncle Joe would allow that unfortunate young man, his brother, to come down here sometimes. We might have a good influence over him, Miss Prism. I'm sure he certainly would. You know, German and geology and things of that kind influence a man very much.
I do not think that even I could produce any effect on a character that, according to his own brother's admission, is irretrievably vacillating. Indeed, I'm not sure that I would desire to reclaim him. I'm not in favor of this modern mania for turning bad people into good people at a moment's notice. As a man sows, so let him reap. You must be very diary, Cecily. I really don't see why you should keep a diary at all.
I keep a diary in order to enter the wonderful secrets of my life. If I didn't write them down, I should probably forget all about them.
Memory, my dear Cecily, is the diary we all carry about with us.
Yes, but it usually chronicles the things that have never happened and couldn't possibly have happened. I believe that memory is responsible for nearly all the 3-volume novels that Rudy sent us.
Do not speak slightingly of the 3-volume novels, Cecily. I wrote them myself in earlier days.
Did you really, Miss Prism? How wonderfully clever you are. life novels that unhappy. They depress me so much.
The good ended happily and the bad unhappily. That is what fiction means.
I suppose so. But this is very unfair. Was it ever published?
Alas, no. The manuscript unfortunately was abandoned. I use the word consent for the laws on this way. Do you observe these speculations are profitless?
But I see I Dr. Chasuble kind of did.
Dr. Chasuble, this is in their pleasure.
And now it is morning. Miss Prism, you are trust.
Miss Prism has just been complaining over flight headache. I think it would for so much good to have a short servitude in the park, Dr. Chasuble. I didn't mention anything about the headache. No, dear Miss Prism. I know that, but I thought you couldn't give me that you had a headache. Indeed, I was thinking about that and more about my German lesson when the rector came in.
I hope, Cecily, you are not in a time too.
Oh, I'm afraid I am.
It is strange. When I'm fortunate enough to Miss Prism in the room, I would have this. I spoke metaphorically. My metaphor was from Miss. Mr. Warning, I suppose, has now returned from holiday.
We do not expect him to Monday afternoon.
Ah, yes. He usually likes to spend his Sunday in London. He's now one of those whose sole aim is enjoyment, as, by all accounts, that unfortunate young man. But I must not disturb Algeria and not prepare any longer.
Algeria? My next vacation, Doctor.
클래식 거울을 준비하니 주한으로 배겨놨어요. I can see you both no doubt that it was wrong.
I think, dear Doctor, I will have a story with you. I'm not going to have a headache after all. And I want my good.
With pleasure, Miss Prism, with pleasure. We might go as far as schools and back.
That would be delightful. This way, you will read your political economy in my absence. The chapter on the fall of the rupee you may omit. It is somewhat sensational. Even these metallic problems have the melodramatic side.
Horrid political economy, horrid geography, horrid German.
Mr. Earnest Breaknell just during the whole presentation. His birthday today.
Mr. Ernest wedding is for the Algernon. Uncle Jack's brother! Did you tell Mr. what he was in town?
Yes, miss. But he was anxious to speak to you privately for a moment.
Pray ask the lady to come. Ask Mr. Ernest wedding to come here. I suppose you had a better talk to the housekeeper about a beautiful hair.
Yes, miss.
I have never met any really wicked person before. I feel rather frightened. I'm so afraid he will look just like everyone else.
You're my lady cousin Cecily, I'm sure.
You are under some strange type. I'm not little. In fact, I believe I'm more than usually tall for my age. But I'm your cousin Cecily. You, I see from your cards, are Uncle Jack's brother. My cousin Ernest. My wicked cousin Ernest.
Oh, I'm not really wicked at all, cousin Cecily. You mustn't think that I'm wicked.
If you're not, then you have to live in this little soul in a very inexcusable manner. I hope you have not been living a double life, pretending to be wicked and being really good all the time. That would be hypocrisy.
Oh, of course, I have been rather reckless.
I'm glad to hear it.
In fact, now you mention the subject, I have been very bad in my own small way.
I don't think you should be so proud of that, though I'm sure it must have been very pleasant.
It is much pleasanter being here with you.
I can understand how you're here at all. Uncle Joe won't be back till Monday afternoon.
That is great disappointment. I'm obliged to go by the first train on Monday morning. I have a business appointment that I'm anxious to miss.
Didn't you miss it anywhere in London? I think you had a better way to Uncle Jack arrived. I know he wants to speak to you about your handwriting.
About my what?
Your handwriting. He has one of to buy your outfit.
Oh, I certainly wouldn't let Jack buy my outfit. He has no taste in neckties at all.
I don't think we will require neckties. Uncle Jack is sending you to Australia.
Australia? I'd sooner die.
Well, he said at dinner on Wednesday night that you would have to choose between his work, the next work, and Australia.
Oh, where? You can't have lived in Australia, and the next word are not particularly inclusive. This word is good enough for me, cousin Cecily.
Yes, but are you good enough for me?
I'm afraid I'm not that. That is why I want you to live for me. You might make that your mission if you don't mind, cousin Cecily.
I'm afraid I have no time this afternoon.
Would you mind if I live for myself this afternoon?
It's rather quixotic of you, but I think you should try.
I will. I feel better already. That is because I'm hungry.
How thoughtless of me! I should have remembered that when one is going to lead an entirely new life, one requires regular and wholesome meals. Don't you come?
Thank you. Might I have a first? I have never any appetite unless I have a butler first.
A virgin yet?
No. I still don't have big rolls.
Why?
Because you like a big rolls, cousin Cecily.
Oh, I don't think it can be right for you to talk to me like that. Miss Prism never starts such things to me.
Then this Prism is the short side of the lady. You're the prettiest girl I've ever seen.
Miss Prism says that all the looks are snare.
You're a snare that every sensible man would like to be cutting.
Oh, I don't think I would care to catch a sensible man. I shouldn't know what to talk to you about.
You have too much alone, dear Dr. Chasuble. You should get married. A minute for, I can understand. A woman for, never.
Believe me, I do not deserve a solemnistic friend. The precept, as well as the practice of printed church, was distinctly against matrimony.
Yeah, it's obviously the reason why the printed church was not appealed for present day. And you do not seem to realize, dear doctor, that by persistently remaining single, a man converts himself into a common public temptation. Men should be more careful with this very celibacy leads weaker vessels astray.
But is a man not equally attractive when married?
No married man is ever attractive except to his wife.
And often, I've been told, not even to her.
That depends on the intellectual sympathies of the woman. Maturity can always be depended on. Brightness can be trusted. 영어는 agree. 아주 똑같아가지고. 만나고 보면 friends. But where is Cecily?
Perhaps she followed us to school.
Mr. Bonney?
Mr. Bonney?
This is indeed a surprise. We did not look for you till Monday afternoon.
I have returned sooner than expected. Dr. Chasuble, I hope you're well.
Dear Mr. Bonney, I trust this gobble road does not betoken some terrible calamity.
My brother,
Bullshit, that's an extravagance.
Still leading is lack of pleasure.
dead!
Your brother Ernie is dead?
Quite dead!
What a lesson for him! I trust you will profit by it.
Mr. Bonney, I offer you my sincere condolence. You have at least the consolation of knowing that you were always the most generous and forgiving of brothers.
Poor Ernest. He had many faults, but he's a sensible.
Very sad indeed. Were you with him at the end?
No, he died abroad, in Paris, in fact. I had a telegram last night from the manager of the Grand Hotel.
What's the cause of decimation?
A senior chili sins.
As a man sows with charity rain.
Charity, Miss Prism. Charity. None of us are perfect. I, myself, am peculiarly susceptible to drafts. Will you eat him?
No. You seem to have expressed a desire to be buried in Paris.
In Paris? I fear the hardly points to any very serious state of mind at the last. You would no doubt wish me to make some slight allusion to this tragic domestic affliction yesterday. My sermon on the meaning of the manner in the wilderness can be adapted to any occasion, joyful or, as in the present case, distressing. I have preached the harvest celebrations, christenings, confirmation, on days of humiliation and festa days.
Ah, that reminds me. I suppose you know how to christen all right. I mean, of course, you're continually christening, aren't you?
It is, I regret to say, one of the rector's most constant duties in this parish. I've often spoken to the poorer classes on the subject, but they don't seem to know how to read this.
But is there any particular infant in whom you are interested, Mr. Woolley? Your brother was, I believe, unmarried, wasn't he?
Oh, yes.
People who live in kinds of pleasure usually are.
But it is not for any child, though, Doctor. I'm very fond of children. No. In fact, I would like to be christened myself this afternoon, if you have nothing to do.
Well, surely, Mr. Woolley, you have been christened already.
I don't remember anything about it.
But have you any grave doubt on the subject?
I certainly intend to have, of course. But I don't know if the thing would bother you in any way, or if you think I'm a little too old now.
Not at all. What hour would you wish the ceremony performed?
Oh, I might throw around about 5 if it suits you.
Perfectly, perfectly. In fact, I have two similar ceremonies to perform at the time. A case of twins that occurred recently in one of the other cottages on your own estate.
No, I don't see much fun in being christened along with other babies. It would be childish. Would help us fight good.
Admirably, admirably. And now, dear Mr. Woolley, I will not intrude any longer into the house of son. I would merely beg you not to be too much bored out by grief. What seem to us bitter trials are often blessing in disguise.
This seems to me a blessing of an extremely obvious kind.
Uncle Jack! Oh, I'm pleased to see that. But what horrid clothes is too far on? To go and change them.
Cecily?
My child, my child.
What's the matter, Uncle Jack? You look happy. You look as if you had a Tuesday. And I have got a surprise for you. Who do you think is in the dining room? Your brother!
Who?
Your brother Alice! You arrived about half an hour ago.
What nonsense! I haven't got a brother.
Oh, don't say that. However badly he may have behaved in the past, he's still your brother. You couldn't be so heartless as you told me. All the time to come down, and you wish I kept meeting. What's wrong, Jack?
These are very joyful tidings.
Peculiarly distressing.
My brother is in the dining room. I don't know what it means. I think it's perfectly absurd. Good heavens!
Brother John.
Boy.
I've come back from town to tell you that I'm very sorry for all the trouble I have given you and that I intend to lead a better life in the future.
Uncle Jack, you are not going to refuse your own brother's hand?
Nothing will induce me to take his hand. I think he's coming down here disgraceful. And he knows perfectly well why.
Uncle Jack, to be nice, there is someone in everyone. And his has just been telling me about his poor, invalid friend Mr. Bunbury who is going to be disaster. Then surely there must be much good in us who is kind of invalid and leaves the pleasures of London to see bombard of pain.
Oh, he has been Bunbury, has he?
Yes, he has told me all about poor Mr. Bunbury and his terrible state of health.
Bunbury! Well, I want to be doctor about Bunbury or anything else. It is enough to drive a bump in front.
Of course, I admit that the words were out of my side, but I must say that I think that Brother John's courtesy to me is peculiarly painful. I expected a more enthusiastic welcome, especially considering it is the first time I have come here.
Uncle John, if you don't shake hands with earnest, I will never forgive you.
Never forgive me.
Never, never, never!
Well, this is the last time I shall do it.
It's pleasant, is it not, to see so much reconciliation? I think we might need two brothers together.
Cecily, you will come with us.
Certainly, Miss Prism, my little task of reconciliation is over.
You have done a beautiful action today, dear my child.
We must not be premature in our judgment.
I feel very happy.
You young scoundrel! You must get out of this place as soon as possible. I don't tolerate you bumbling here. You have got to...
I have put Mr. Ernest things in the room next year, sir. I suppose that is alright.
What?
Mr. Ernest luggage, sir. I have unpacked it and put it in the room next year, sir.
His luggage?
Yes, sir. 3 portmanteaus, a dressing case, 2 hat boxes, and a large luncheon basket.
I'm afraid I can't stay more than a week this time.
Merriman? Order the door curtains. Mr. Ernest has been served for vacation time.
Yes, sir.
What a fearful liar you're, Jack! I have not been called back to town at all.
Yes, you have.
I haven't heard anyone from me.
Your duty as a gentleman calls you back.
My duty as a gentleman has never interfered with my pleasures in the smallest people.
But I can quite understand that.
Where Cecily is so darling.
You are not to talk of Miss Carter like that. I don't like it.
Where I don't like your clothes. You look perfectly ridiculous in them. Why on earth don't you go up and change? It is perfectly childish to be demurring for a man who is actually staying for a whole week with you in your house as a guest. I call it grotesque.
You're not certainly staying with me for a whole week as a guest or anything else. You have got to leave by the 4-5 train.
I certainly won't be here so long as you're in Bernie. You would be most unfriendly. If I were in Bernie, you would stay with me, I suppose. I should think very unkind if you didn't.
Well, will you go if I change my clothes?
Yes, if you're not alone. I never saw anybody take so long to dress up with such a little lizard.
Well, at any rate, that is better than being always overdressed as you are.
If I'm occasionally a little overdressed, I make up for it by being always immensely over-educated.
Your vanity is ridiculous. Your conduct unoutraged, and your presence in my house utterly absurd. However, you have got to catch the 4-5, and I hope you'll have a pleasant journey back to town. This company, as you call it, has not been a great success for you.
I think it has been a great success. I'm in love with Cecily, and that is everything. But I must see her before I go and make arrangements for another wrongdoing. Oh, there she is!
Oh, I really came back to water the roses. I thought you were with Uncle Jack.
He's gone to order the book cart for me.
Oh, is he going to take you for a nice ride?
He's going to send me away.
Then I'll be glad to park.
I'm afraid so. It's very painful parking.
It's always painful to apart from people who manage to for a very brief space of time. The absence of one France won't be inconvenient. But even the momentary separation from anyone to manage to be introduced is almost unbearable.
The dog cat is waiting, sir.
You can wait Merriman for 5 minutes.
Yes, yes.
I hope, Cecily, I shall not offend you if I stay quite frankly and openly that you seem to me to be in every way the visible personification of absolute perfection.
I think you reflect this such a great credit, Ernest. If you allow me, I will copy your remarks into my diary.
Do you really keep a diary? I keep anything to look at it. May I?
Oh no! You see, it is simply very understated current thoughts and impressions and consequently meant for publication. When it occurs for the phone, I hope you will all be happy. But pray, Ernest, don't stop. I delight in taking down from dictation. I have reached absolute perfection. You can go on. I'm quite ready for more. Oh, don't hope, Ernest. When one is dictating, one should speak fluently and not cold. Besides, I will not start cold.
Cecily, ever since I first looked upon your wonderful and incomparable beauty, I have dared to love you widely, passionately, devotedly, and hopelessly.
I don't think you should tell me that you love me widely, passionately, devotedly, and hopelessly. Hopelessly doesn't seem to make much sense, does it?
Cecily!
Oh! The dog cat is waiting, sir.
Thank you, comrade. Next we get the seminar.
Yes.
Uncle Joe would be very much annoyed if he knew you were saying with him next week at the same hour.
Oh, I don't care about Jack. I don't care for anybody in the whole world. But you. I love you, Cecily. You will marry me, won't you?
Yes, silly boy. Of course. Why, we have been engaged for the last 3 months.
For the last 3 months?
Yes, it will be exactly 3 months on Thursday.
But how did you become engaged?
Well, ever since the judge first confessed to us that he knew your brother, who was very wicked and bad, you, of course, have been the chief topic of conversation between myself and Miss Prism. And, of course, a man who is much talked about is always very attractive. One feels there must be something in him after all. I dare say it was foolish of me, but I fell in love with you, Alice.
Darling, and when was our engagement actually set?
On the 14th of February, brought by your entire ignorance of my business, I determined to end the matter one way or the other. And after a long struggle with myself, I accepted you. The next day, I wrote this written link in the mail, and this is the little bedroom with the two lovers' note I promise you always to wear.
It's very pretty, isn't it?
Yes, you wonderfully good taste, Ernest. As the excuse I've always given for you leading such a bad life. And this is the box in which I keep all of your letters.
My letters? My own darling, I have never written you any letters.
You need hardly remind me of that, Ernest. I remember only too well that I was supposed to write your letters to you. I was always 3 times a week, and sometimes oftener.
Oh, let me read them, Cecily.
Oh, I couldn't possibly. That would make you far too conceited. The thread you wrote me after I'd broken up the engagement was so beautiful and so badly spelled that now I can hardly read them without crying a little.
But was our engagement ever broken?
Of course it was. On the 22nd of last month. You can see the interview line. today, I broke up my engagement with Ernest. I think it's better to do so. The weather still continues chirpy.
But why on earth did you break up? What did I do? I have done nothing. Cecily, I'm very much hurting to hear you broke it up, particularly when the weather was so charming.
It would hardly have been a really serious engagement if it hadn't been broken up at least once. But I forgave you before the week was out.
What a perfect angel you're, Cecily.
You dear romantic boy.
Yes, a little help from others.
I'm so glad.
You will never break up our engagement again, Cecily.
I don't think I would break it off. Now that I've actually met you. Besides, of course, there is some question of your name.
Yes, of course.
You must have left me, darling. But it has already been abolished from mine to love someone whose name was Ernest. There is something in the name that seems to inspire absolute confidence. I pity any poor mad woman whose husband is not called Ernest.
But, my darling, do you mean to say you could not love me if I had some other name?
Well, only.
Well, any name you like. Algernon, for instance.
But I don't like the name of Algernon.
My own dear, sweet, loving little darling. I really can't see why you should object to the name of Algernon. It is not at all a bad name. In fact, it is rather aristocratic name. But seriously, Cecily, if my name was Archie, couldn't you love me?
I might respect you, Ernest. I might admire your character. But I feel that I should be able to give you my undivided attention.
Cecily, your lecture here is, I suppose, thoroughly experienced in the practice of all the rites and ceremonies of the church. I must him at once on the most important christening. I mean, on the most important business.
Oh,
I shall be away more than half an hour.
considering that we have been engaged since February the 14th, and they only met you today for the first time, I think it's rather hard that you should leave me for so long a period as half an hour. Let's make it 20 minutes.
I'll be back in no time.
What a precious boy he is! I like his hair so much. I must enter his photo in my diary.
Miss Fairfax had just called in Mr. Woody for very important business. Miss Fairfax stays.
Isn't this the building in his library?
Mr. Woody went over in the direction of the rectory some time ago.
Pray ask the lady to come out here. Mr. Wooding is sure to be back soon. And you can bring tea.
Yes, miss.
Miss Belfast, I suppose one of the many good elderly women who are associated with Uncle Jack and some of his philanthropy work in London. I don't quite like the women who are interested in philanthropic work. I think it is so forward of them.
Miss Fairfax.
Pray let me introduce myself to you. My name is Cecily Cardew. Cecily Cardew? What a very sweet name. Something tells me that we are going to be great friends. I like you already more than I can say. My first impressions of people are never wrong. How nice of you to like me so much after we have known each other such a comparatively short time. Crazy though. I may call you Cecily, may I not? With pleasure. And you always call me Gwendolen, won't you? If you wish. Then, that is all quite settled, is it not? I hope so. Perhaps this might be a favorable opportunity for my mentioning who I am. My father, as Lord Brecknell, cruelty would be as impossible as deception. But if a man of the noblest, most possible moral character, I assume is susceptible to the influence of physical charms and habits.
I'm really puzzled, Gwendolen. Did you say earnest?
Yes.
Oh, but it isn't Mr. Ernest who is my guardian. It is his brother, his elder brother.
Ernest never mentioned him here before, though.
I'm sorry to say that not been on good terms for a long time.
Oh, that accounts for it. And now that I think of it, I have never heard any man mention his brother. The subject seems distasteful to most men. Cecily, you have picked the loaf from mine. I was growing almost anxious. It would have been terrible if any crowd had come across the French like ours, would it not? Of course, you are quite sure that it is not Mr. Ernest Worthing who is your guardian.
Quite sure. In fact, I'm going to be his.
I beg your pardon.
Dear Gwendolen, there is no reason why I should make a secret of it to you. Our little county newspaper issued to chronicles the thing next week. Mr. Worthing and I are engaged to be married.
My darling sister, I think there must be some sort of error. Mr. Ernest Worthing is engaged to me. The announcement will appear in the warnings on Saturday at the latest.
I'm afraid you must be under some conception, and his proposed to me exactly 10 minutes ago.
It is very curious, for he asked me to his wife yesterday afternoon at 5:30. If you would care to verify the incident, pray do so. I never travel without my diary. One should always have something sensational to read in the train. I'm so sorry, dear sister, if it is any disappointment to you, but I'm afraid I have the prior claim.
It would distress me more than your Gwendolen if it caused you any mental or physical anguish, but I will want to point out that since I proposed to you, he clearly had changed mine.
If a poor fellow has an entered into any foolish promise, I shall consider it my duty to rescue at once, and with a firm hand.
Whatever unfortunate entanglement my dear boy may have gone to, I will never reproach him with it after we are married.
Do you allude to me, Miss Cardew, as an entanglement? You are presumptuous. On an occasion of this kind, it becomes more than a moral duty to one's mind. It becomes a pleasure.
Do you suggest, Miss Fairfax, that I trapped Alice into an engagement? How dare you? This is no time for wearing the shallow mask of manners. When I see a spade, I bring a spade.
I'm glad to say that I've never seen a spade. It is obvious that our social spheres have been quite different.
Shall I here as usual, miss?
Yes, as usual.
Are there many interesting walks in the vicinity, Miss Curry?
Oh yes, a great many. From the top of one of the hills quite close, one can see 5 counties.
5 counties? I don't think I should like that. I hate crowds.
I suppose that's why you live in town.
Quite a well-kept garden, Miss Curry.
So glad you like it, Miss Fairfax.
I had no idea there are any clouds in the country.
Oh, Florida is coming here, Miss Fairfax, as we try London.
Personally, I can't understand how anybody manages to exist a country if anybody thinks, anybody does. The country owes forced to that.
Oh, this is what the newspapers call agricultural depression, is it not? I believe the aristocracy are suffering very much from it just at present. It is almost an epidemic amongst them, I believe, too. May I bring something, Mr. Lopez? Thank you.
Detestable girl, but I require tea.
Sugar?
No, thank you. Sugar is a vegetable beverage.
Cake or bread and butter?
Bread and butter, please. Cake is very seen at the best houses nowadays.
Hand that to Miss Belfast.
Gwendolen, darling.
A moment. May I ask if you're engaged to be married to this young lady?
To the little Cecily? Of course not. What could I put such an idea into your pretty little head?
Thank you. You may.
I knew there must be some misunderstanding, Miss Belfast. The gentleman whose arm is at present around your waist is my dear guardian, Mr. John Wadding.
I beg your pardon.
This is Uncle John.
Jack? Oh,
Here's Alice.
My Ola.
A moment, Alice. Let us you. Are you engaged to marry this young lady?
To what young lady? Good heavens, Gwendolen!
Yes, to what happens, Gwendolen. I mean to Gwendolen.
Oh, of course not. Why could I put such an idea into your great little head?
Thank you. You may.
I felt there must be something bad. The gentleman who's now embracing me is my cousin, Mr. Algernon Moncrief.
Algernon Moncrief? Oh! Are you called Algernon?
I cannot deny.
Oh!
Is your name really John?
I could deny if I liked. I could deny anything if I liked, but my name certainly is John. It has been John for years.
Although deception has been practiced on most of us.
My Cecily,
I'm so wrong, Gwendolen.
you told my sister, do you not?
There is just one question I'd like to be allowed to ask my cousin.
Well, I have an idea. Mr. Wadding, there is just one question I would like to be permitted to put to you. Where is your brother Alice? We are both engaged to be married to your brother Alice. So it is a matter of some importance to us to know where your brother Alice is at present.
Gwendolen, Cecily, it is very painful for me to be forced to speak the truth, but I will tell you quite frankly that I have no brother, Ernest. I have no brother at all. I never had a brother in my life, and I have not the smallest intention of ever having one in the future.
No brother at all?
None.
Had you never a brother of any kind?
Never. Not even of any kind.
I'm afraid it is quite clear, Cecily, that neither of us is engaged to be married to anyone.
It is not a very pleasant position for a young girl only find herself in, is it?
Let us go into the next room. There is hardly venture to come after us there.
No, men are so cowardly, aren't they?
This ghastly state of things is what you call Bombay, I suppose. Bombay it is.
Yes, and perfectly wonderful. The most wonderful Bunbury I've ever had in my life.
You have no right whatsoever to Bombay here.
That is absurd. One has a right to Bunbury anywhere one chooses. Every serious Bunbury knows that.
Serious Bombay, good heavens.
Well, one must be serious about something if one wants to have any amusement in life. I happen to be serious about Bunbury. What on earth you're serious about? I haven't got that rheumatist idea about everything I should bless you. You have such an absolutely trivial nature.
Well, the only small satisfaction that I have in the whole of this friendship business is that your friend Bombay is quite explored. You won't be able to run down to the country quite so far as you to do, dear RG. That's a very good thing too.
Your brother is some literal colorism, isn't it, dear Jack? You won't be disappeared to London quite so frequently as you're reaching across the world. Not a bad thing, I think.
As for your conduct towards Miss Cardew, I must say that you're taking a sweet, simple, innocent girl like that is quite inexcusable. To say nothing of the fact that she's my wife.
I can see no possible defense at all for your deceiving a brilliant, clever, thoroughly experienced young lady like Miss Fairfax. To say nothing of the fact that she's my cousin.
I'm in love with Gwendolen. That is all. I love her.
Well, I simply wanted to be engaged to Cecily. I adore her.
Well, there is certainly no chance of your marrying Miss Cardew.
I don't think there's much likelihood, Jack, of you and Miss Fairfax being united.
That is no business of yours.
If it was my business, I wouldn't talk about it. It is very vulgar to talk about one's business.
How you can sit there, calmly eating muffins and you're in this horrible trouble, I can make out. You seem to me to be totally hurtless.
I can't eat muffins in an agitated manner. The butter would probably get on my clothes. One should always eat muffins calmly. It is the only way to eat them.
I said, it is totally hurtless. You're eating muffins at all under the circumstances.
When I'm in trouble, eating is the only thing that concerns me. Indeed, when I'm in really great trouble, as anyone who knows me intimately will tell you, I refuse everything except food and drink. At the present moment, I'm eating muffins because I'm unhappy. Besides, I am particularly fond of muffins.
That is no reason why you should eat them all in that greedy way.
I wish you have ticket instead. I don't like ticket.
Good heavens! I suppose a man made his own muffins in his own house.
Yes, but you have just said that it was perfectly heartless to eat muffins.
I said it is perfectly heartless of you under the circumstances. That is a very different thing.
That may be, but the muffins are the same.
Algernon, I 죽은
It's absurd. I never do it on my dinner. No one ever does except vegetarians and people like that. Besides, I have just made arrangements with Dr. Chasuble to be christened further to 6 under the name of Earnest.
My dear fellow, the sooner we give up the nonsense, the better. I made arrangement this morning with Dr. Chasuble to be christened myself at 5:30. I will naturally take the name of Ernest and Gwendolen in the ship. You can both be christened Ernest, it's absurd. Besides, I have a perfect right to be christened if I like, because there is no evidence at all that I have ever been christened by anyone. It is, I should think it is purely improbable, and so does Dr. Chasuble. It is entirely different in your case. You have been christened already.
Yes, but I have not been christened for years.
Yes, but you have been christened. That is the important thing.
So I know my constitution can stand it. If you're not quite sure you're ever having been christened, I must say I think it rather dangerous you're venturing right now. It might make you very aware. And you can hardly have forgotten that someone very closely connected with you was very nearly carried off this week in Paris by a severe chill.
Yes, but you said yourself that a severe chill was not hereditary.
It used to be, I know, but I dare say it is now. Science is always making wonderful improvements in this.
That is nonsense. You're always talking nonsense.
Jack, your apple muffins so gay. I wish you would. There are only 2 left. I told you I was particularly fond of muffins.
But I hate PK.
Why not send to your love this picnic to be served for your guests? What ideas you have on hospitality?
Algernon, I have already told you to go. I don't want you here. Why don't you go?
I haven't quite finished my tea yet, and there's still 1 muffin left.
They don't seem to notice us at all. 그런 척하고. But I have more hope. They are looking at us. What effrontery! They are approaching. That's very forward of them. Let us preserve a dignified silence.
Certainly, it's the only thing to do now.
This dignified silence seems to produce an unpleasant effect.
Almost distasteful one.
But we will not be the first to speak.
Certainly not.
Mr. Waddy, I have something very particular to ask you. Much depends on your reply.
Gwendolen, your common sense is invaluable. Mr. Moncrief, kindly answer me the following question. Why did you pretend to be my guardian's brother?
In order that I might have an opportunity of meeting you.
You certainly seem so satisfactory explanation, does it not?
Yes, dear, if you can believe him.
I don't. But that does not affect the wonderful beauty of his answer.
True, in matters of great importance, style, but sincerity is the vital thing. Mr. Waddy, what explanations can you offer to me for pretending to have a brother? Was it in order that you might have an opportunity of coming up to town to see me as often as possible?
Can you doubt in these perfects?
I have a grave start of the subject, but I intend to question. Your explanation appears to be quite satisfactory, especially Mr. Waddy. That seems to me to have the stamp of truth upon it.
I'm more than content with what Mr. Moncrief said. His poor soul inspires one with absolute credulity.
Then you think we should forgive them?
Yes, I mean, though.
True, I forgot to. There are principles at stake that one cannot surrender. But which was to tell them? The task is not a pleasant one.
Could it not both at the same time?
An excellent idea. I nearly always speak at the same time as other people. Will you take the time from me?
Certainly.
Your Christian names are still on the supreme barrier. That's all.
The names is ever, but we are going to be christened this afternoon.
For my sake, you are prepared to do this terrible thing?
I am.
Oh, please me, you're ready to face this fearful audience?
I am.
How absurd to talk of the equality of the sexes where questions of self-sacrifice are concerned. Men are infinite, beyond us.
We are.
They have moments of magical courage of which we women know absolutely nothing.
Darling,
Darling.
Oh. Lady Breaknell.
Good heavens!
Gwendolen, what does this mean? Merely that I'm engaged to be married to Mr. Waddy, Mama. Come in, sit down immediately. Hesitation of any kind is sign of mental decay in the young, of physical weakness in the old. And price, sir, my daughter's sudden flight by her trusting maid, whose confidence I purchased by means of a small coin, I furthered her once by a luggage train. And of course, we clearly understand that all communication between yourself and my daughter must cease immediately from this moment. From this point, as indeed on all points, I am firm.
But I am engaged to be married to Gwendolen, Lady Breaknell.
You are nothing of the kind, sir. And now, as regards Algernon. Algernon,
Yes, Otosa.
may I ask if it is in this house that your invalid friend Mr. Bunbury resides?
No. Bunbury doesn't live here. Bunbury is somewhere else at present. In fact, Bunbury is dead.
Dad? When did Mr. Bunbury die? His death must have been extremely sudden.
Oh, I killed Bunbury this afternoon. I mean, her Bunbury died this afternoon.
What did he die of?
Bunbury, he was quite exploding.
Exploded? Was it a victim of a revolutionary outrage? I was not aware that Mr. Bunbury was interested in social legislation. If so, he was well punished for his morbidity.
My dear Augusta, I mean, he was found out. The doctors found out that Bunbury could not live, that is what I mean. So, Bunbury died.
He seemed to have a great confidence in the opinion of his physicians. I am glad, however, that he made up his mind at the last to subject the curse of profession and entered under proper medical advice. And now that we finally got rid of this Mr. Bunbury, may I ask Mr. Worthing, who is that young person whose hand my nephew Algernon is now holding in? What seems to me a peculiarly unnecessary manner?
That lady is Miss Cecily, my wife.
I am engaged to be married to Cecily,
I beg your pardon?
Mr. Moncrief and I are engaged to be married, Lady Breaknell.
Oh! 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 I do not know whether there is anything peculiarly exciting in the air of this particular part of Hertfordshire, but the number of engagements that go on seems to be considerable above the proper average. The statistics they've laid down for our guidance. I think some preliminary inquiries on my part would not better place. Mr. Worthing, is Miss Calder at all connected with any of the larger railway stations in London? I merely desire information. Until yesterday, I had no idea that there were any feminists who persons whose origin was Italian.
Miss Cuddy is the granddaughter of the late Mr. Thomas Cuddy of 149 Belgrave Square Southwest. Go away, stop talking, sorry, and the squirrel gives you no spirit.
That sounds not unsatisfactory. The addresses always inspire confidence, even in tradesmen. But what proof about their authenticity?
I have carefully preserved the cold drives of the period. They are open to your inspection, Lady Breckner.
I've no strange errors in the publication.
No. Miss Cuddy's family solicitors are Messrs. Murphy, and Murphy.
Murphy, and Murphy? A firm with the very highest position in the profession. Indeed, I am told that one of the Mr. Murphys is occasionally to be seen at dinner parties. So far, are you satisfied?
How extremely kind of you, Lady Breckner. I have also in my possession. You will be pleased to hear. Certificates of Miss Cuddy's birth, baptism, opinka, registration, vaccination, confirmation, and visa. Both the German and the English variety.
Ah, a life credit with incident I see. Though perhaps not too exciting for younger. I am not myself in favor of premature experiences. Gwendolen, the time approaches for departure. We have not a moment. At a letter from Mr. Worthing, I want to ask you if Miss Carter has any little fortune.
About 130,000 pounds in the funds, that is all. Goodbye, Lady Breckner. So pleased to have seen you.
A moment, Mr. Worthing. 130,000 pounds? In the funds? Miss Carter seems to me a most attractive young lady rather than the guest. Viewers of the present day have any really solid qualities, any of the cost of lost and improvement on. We live, I regret to say, in an age of services. Come, dear. Pretty child, your dress is sadly simple and your hair seems almost as nature might have left it. But we kids would alter all that. A thoroughly experienced French maid produced a really marvelous result in a very brief space of time. I remember recommending one to young Lady Lancey. After 3 months, her own husband didn't know her.
And after 6 months, nobody knew.
Kindly turn around, sweet child. No, the side view is what I want. Oh, yes, quite as I expected. There are distinct social possibilities in your profile. The two weak points in our age are its want of principle and its want of profile. The chin a little higher dear. Style largely depends on the way the chin is worked. They are one very high, just at present. Algernon?
Yes, of course.
There are distinct social possibilities in Miss Carter's profile.
Cecily is the sweetest, littlest, prettiest girl in the whole world. I don't care two pence about social possibilities.
Never speak disrespectfully of society, Algernon. Only people who can't get into it do that. Dear child, of course you know that Algernon has nothing but his dad to depend upon. But I do not approve of mercenary marriages. When I married Lord Breaknell, I had no fortune of any kind. But I never dreamed of a line that to stand in my way. Well, I suppose I must give my consent.
Thank you, Augusta.
Cecily, you may kiss me.
Thank you, Lady Breaknell.
You may also address this Aunt Augusta for the future.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
The marriage, I think, had better take place quite soon.
Thank you, Augusta.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
To speak frankly, I am not in favor of long engagements. They give people the opportunity of finding each other's character before marriage, which I think is never advisable.
Pray excuse me, Lady Breaknell, for interrupting you, but this engagement is quite out of the question. I am Miss Cardew's guardian, and she cannot marry without my consent until she comes of age. The consent I absolutely decline to give.
Upon what grounds may I ask? Algernon is extremely, I may almost say ostentatiously eligible young man. He has nothing, but he looks everything. Ultimate desire.
It is very painful for me to be forced to speak the truth to you, Lady Breaknell, of your uncle. But I will tell it quite candidly. I do not approve at all of his moral character. I suspect him of being untruthful.
Untruthful? My nephew Algernon? Impossible. He's an Oxonian.
I fear there can be no possible doubt of the matter. But during my temporary absence in London, on an important casual romance, he obtained an admission to my house by means of false pretense of being my brother. Continuing his disgraceful deception, he succeeded in the course of the afternoon in alienating the affection of my only wife. He subsequently stayed to tea and devoured every single muffin. And what makes his conduct all the more heartless is that he was perfectly well aware from the first that I have no brother, that I never had a brother, and that I don't intend to have a brother, not even of any kind. I distinctly told him so myself yesterday afternoon.
Mr. Worthing, after careful consideration, I've decided entirely to overlook my nephew's conduct to you.
That is very generous of you, Lady Brecknell. My own decision, however, is unalterable. I decline to give my consent.
Come over here, sweet child. How old are you, dear?
Well, I'm really only 18, but I always admit to 20 when I go to many parties.
You're perfectly right in making some slight alteration. Indeed, no woman should ever be quite accurate about her age. They look so calculating. 18, but admitting to 20 at evening parties? Well, it will not be very long before you've aged and free from the restriction of tutelage. So, I don't think your guardian's consent is, after all, a matter of any importance.
Pray excuse me, Lady Brecknell, for interrupting you again. But it is only fair to tell you that, according to the terms of our grandfather's will, Miss Cardew does not come legally of age till she is 35.
That does not seem to meet your grave objection. 35 is a very attractive age. London society is full of a woman of the very highest birth of their own free choice remains 35 for years. And I see the reason why our dear Cecily should not be even still more attractive at the age of mentioned than she is at present. There will be a large accumulation of property.
Arjun, would you wait for me till I was 35?
Of course I could, Cecily. You know I could.
Yes, I'm very instinctively, but I couldn't wait all the time. I hate waiting even 5 minutes for anybody. It always makes me rather cross. I'm not punctual myself, I know, but I do like punctuality in others. And waiting even to be married is part of the question.
Then, what is to be done, Cecily?
I don't know, Mr. Moncrief.
My dear Mr. Worthing, as Miss Cardew states positively that she cannot wait till she's 35, a remark which I am bound to say seems to me to show some impatient nature, I would beg of you to reconsider your decision.
But, my dear Lady Brecknell, the matter is entirely in your own hands. The moment you consent to my marriage with Gwendolen, I will most gladly allow your nephew to form an alliance with my wife.
You should be quite aware that what you propose is out of question.
Then a passionate celibacy is all that any of us can look forward to.
That is not the destiny I propose for Gwendolen. Algernon, of course, can choose for himself. Come, dear, we've already missed 5, if not 6 trains. To miss any more, my exposure to command from the platform.
Everything's come ready for the christenings.
The christening, sir. It's not that summer premature.
Most this gentleman had expressed a desire for immediate baptism.
At their age, the idea is grotesque and religious. Algernon, I thought we should be baptized. I will not hear such excesses. Lord Brecknell would be hardly displeased if he learned that there was no way which even wasted your time and money.
Am I to understand that there are to be no christening at all this afternoon?
I don't think that, as things are now, it will be of much practical value to either of us, Dr. Chasuble.
I'm pleased to hear such sentiments from you, Mr. Roy. However, as your present mood seems to be peculiarly secular, I will return to the church at once. Indeed, I have just informed by the pupil about the horse. Last hour and a half, Miss Prism has been waiting for me in the vestry.
Miss Prism? Did I hear you mention Miss Prism?
Yes, Lady Breaknell. I'm on my way to join her.
Pray allow me to detain you for a moment. This matter may prove to be one of vital importance to Lord Brecknell and myself. Is this Miss Prism, a female of repellent aspect, remotely connected with education?
She's the most cultivated of ladies and a very picture of respectability.
It is obvious the same person. May I ask what position she holds in your household?
I am a celibate, madam.
Miss Prism, Lady Brecknell, has been for the last 3 years Miss Carter's including governess and valued companion.
In spite of what I hear of her, I must see her once. Let her be sent for.
She approaches. She's not.
Our soldier is expecting me in the vestry, your Canon. I'll be waiting for you there for 1 hour and 3 quarters.
Prism! Come here, Prism! Prism, where's that baby? 28 years ago, Prism, you left Lord Brecknell's house, number 104, up a Grosvenor Square, in charge of a perambulator that contained the baby of the Mouses. You never returned. A few weeks later, through the elaborate investigation of Metropolitan Police, the perambulator was discovered at midnight standing by itself in a remote corner of Bayswater. It contained the manuscript of more than usually revolting 3-volume novel. But the baby was not there. Prism, where's that baby?
Lady Brecknell, I have maybe ashamed that I do not know. I only wish I did. The plain facts of the case are this. On the morning of the day you mentioned, the day that is forever branded on my memory, I prepared as usual to take the baby out in its perambulator. I had also in me a somewhat old but capacious handbag in which I intend to place the manuscript of work of fiction that I have written during my few unoccupied hours. In a moment of mental abstraction, for which I never can forgive myself, I deposited the manuscript in the bassinet and placed the baby in the handbag.
But where did you deposit the handbag?
Do not ask me, Mr. Woody.
Miss Prism, that is a matter of no small importance to me. I insist on knowing where you deposit the handbag that contained the infant.
I left it in the clock room of one of the larger railway stations in London.
What railway station?
Victoria, the Brecknell line.
I must return to Madame for a moment. Good. Wait here for me.
If you're not to know, I'll wait here for you all my life.
What do you think this means, Lady Brecknell?
I dare not even suspect Dr. Chasuble. I did hardly tell you that in families of high position, strange coincidences are not supposed to occur. They hardly consider the thing.
Uncle Charles seems translated.
Italian is a very emotional nature.
This sound is extremely unpleasant. It sounds as if has been an argument. I dislike arguments of any kind. They're always burdened with inconveniencing.
Yes, stop now.
I wish he would arrive at some conclusion. This suspense is terrible. I hope it lasts.
Is this the handmaid, Miss Prism? Examine it carefully before you speak. The happiness of more than one life depends on your answer.
This seems to be mine. Yes. Here is the injury you received through the setting of a ghostly omnibus in younger and happier days. Here is the stain on the lining caused by the explosion of a temperance beverage, an incident on a Conan Lamington. And here on the log are my initials. I forgot that it's an extra vague moon I had at the place there. That bag is undoubtedly mine. I'm delighted to have it so unexpectedly stolen to me. It has been a great inconvenience being without it all these years.
Miss Prism, more easily stored to you than this handbag. I was the baby you placed in it.
You?
Yes. Mother!
I'm unmarried?
Unmarried? I do not deny that is a serious blow, but who has a right to cast a stone against one who has suffered? Can a repentant wife on an act of folly? Why should there be one ultimate and another for meaning? Mother, I forgive you!
Miss Molly, there is a mirror. There is a lady who can tell you who you really are.
Lady Breaknell, I hate to seem inquisitive, but would you kindly inform me who I am?
I'm afraid that the news I have to give you will not altogether please you. You're the son of my poor sister, Mrs. Moncrief, and consequently, Algernon's elder brother.
Oh, she's elder brother! Then I have a brother after all. I knew I had a brother. I always said I had a brother. Cecily, how could you have ever doubted that I had a brother? Dr. Chasuble, my unfortunate brother. Miss Prism, my unfortunate brother. Gwendolen, my unfortunate brother. Archie, you young squanderer, you have to treat me with more respect in the future. You've never been to me like a brother in all your life.
My dear boy, not you today. I will do it. I did my best, however, though I was out of practice.
My own? But what own are you? What is your Christian name? Now then you've become someone else.
Oh, I had quite forgotten the point. Your decision on the subject of my name is irrevocable, I suppose.
I never change, except in my affections.
What a noble nature you have, Gwendolen.
Then occasion had better be clear at once. A moment ago, at the time when Miss Prism left in the handbag, had I been christened already?
Every luxury that money could buy, including christenings, had been lavished on you by your fond and doting parents.
Then I have been christened. That is settled. Now, one name as a given. Let me know the worst.
Being the eldest son, you were naturally christened after your father.
Yes, but what was my father's Christian name?
Oh, I cannot at the present moment recall what the general's Christian name was. But I know that he had one. He was eccentric, I admit, but only in later years.
Archie, can't you recollect what our father's Christian name was?
My dear boy, we were never even speaking terms. He died before I was here heard.
I suppose his name would appear in the armies of the period under the sun.
The general was essentially a man of peace, except his domestic life. But I know that his name would appear in any military directory.
Military directory? The army list of the last 40 years are here. These delightful records should have been my constant study. generous. Mella, next door, maybe. What costume names them? Moppy, Misty, Moss, Moncrief, Lieutenant 1840, Lieutenant Colonel, Colonel General, Captain 1869. Christian names. Honest John. I always told you, Gwendolen, my name was honest. What is naturally honest? I'm honest after all.
Yes, I can recall now that the general's called Ernest. I knew I had a particular reason for disliking the name.
Ernest, my Ernest. I felt from the first that you could have no other name.
Gwendolen, it is a terrible thing for a man to find out suddenly that all his life he has been speaking nothing but the truth. Can you forgive me?
I can, but I feel like you are sure to change.
My woman!
Letitia!
Brother, at last!
Cecily, at last!
Gwendolen, at last!
My nephew, you seem to be displaying signs of triviality.
On the contrary, Aunt Augusta, I now realize for the first time in my life the vital importance of being honest.